Year marks 64 years since the successful and impactful consumer boycott against the apartheid regime. The Potato Boycott. The boycott was a response against the killings of farm workers at potato farms in Bethel in the eastern Transvaal, currently known as Mpumalanga. For more on this, we're joined by Black Forum South Africa CEO, Adv Kgagudi Morota. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. Perhaps let's start right at the beginning with a brief background about the 1959 potato boycott, because what we know is that it was essentially about the killing of farm workers who were subjected to slave conditions. How severe was the impact on farm communities?
Good morning to you and to the viewers at home. Yes, in 1959, the farm workers in this country, were subjected to the slave conditions at the farms. Most of them were even killed and planted at the farms as compost or fertilizers. A lot of farm workers will disappear, and then later on, when they were plowing, they will find some skulls and bones at the farms. And the white farmers were believing that, planting human bodies as compost, that is good for their produce. And then the farm workers were worried that South Africa continues with its life. No one is paying attention on the atrocities which they have been facing at every tick of a second, until they packaged a skull of one of the killed farm worker into a potato sack so that the poor, when she is doing her grocery, could find that skull into the potato sack. That's how they raise an awareness to the whole country that you continue as if life is normal while we are killed and they're treated like slaves at the farms. And that's when the ANC and the trade unions launched a potato boycott in 1959 as a national consumer boycott against potatoes in order to, as a response, as a social and political, justice response against that.
Yeah. As you and I speak, Advocate, even after 64 years subsequent to the potato boycott and 29 years into the democracy, the changes and improvements in the farmers' community aren't really that drastic. We're still learning of the killing of farm workers. Their slave-like working conditions and abuse still continues. Where are the loopholes? Where are we falling short?
One of the challenges that we have identified is that these farm workers are in the remote areas from the normal communities, and the white farmers are taking advantage of that. They are not using the rule of law. They create their own laws. We were in Bambus Kral, in Mkondo, in Bitritif, Mpumalanga province. The white farmers have what they call a torture room. If you are found walking around the farm, they will take you into the torture room to punish you. Other, farm communities are saying these white farmers will visit their individual homes, break into them and start beating them up. And when they go and report the case to the police are saying that a white person, there is no law which permits them to arrest white people, or even if they are arrested, there are no jails or prisons in South Africa meant for white people. So the conditions which were fought against in 1959 are recurring now 29 years into democracy. We still witnessed the disappearance of farm workers in the contemporary South Africa. One family in Mpumalanga said to Black Forum that our son was picked up by two white farmers accusing him for having stolen some produce at the farm. That was the last time they saw their son until a co-worker, few months down the line, approached the family and said the son was brought to the farm and was killed in front of us, and we were ordered to dig a hole to bury him. We can go to the police, we can be witnesses, of that occurrence. When they arrive at the police, that's when they were told that there are no there are not presence in the country meant for white people. But again, as the organization, we have adopted two families. The Toga family, where the two sons in 2021 were shot and killed by white farmers in Retief, and the Hlatshwayo brothers were killed in the same style. So we have adopted those two families because no one is taking care of them. The grandmothers are not even receiving grants. The young children in those families are not even going to school because of the distance, and also because maybe the government is not paying much attention for providing, service deliveries to such farm communities.
Yeah. So in essence, in trying to determine perhaps an understandable explanation or with some validity, what are some of the reasons behind the contestation of the rights of farm workers, owners and communities? Why is it still a cause of conflict? Where is the law falling short? Because surely if a crime has been committed, an investigation must follow, an arrest must be made.
Yes, actually the serious instigation is that the white farmers are, enslaving these farm workers. When they're supposed to pay them their wages, they are not paying them. And but also, they are beating them up as a corrective measure at the workplace. And then the farm workers, as a result, they retaliate by coming at night to steal or also to attack the white farmer. But should the white farmer stop to treat the farm workers as slaves, treat the farm communities, with dignity, I do not see farm workers, rising up and planning to also torture the white farmers as a form of revenge. So that's where the conflict is coming from. They are saying to us, we want to work, we want to earn a decent salary, which is prescribed by the law. But when we are being beaten up, when some of our colleagues are being killed, when we are not being paid, we have to respond to that, and the only way to respond is to respond physically as well.
So what role does government play in dealing with the socio-economic challenges in farm communities, especially also looking into aspects like children not going to school, teenage pregnancy, and not receiving sufficient housing and grants? Yeah,
government is saying, look, these farm communities are situated at the farms, and those farms are private properties of these white farmers. We cannot go and build an RDP house there. But also, they are saying these farm communities are far. We expect the dwellers to walk into our community, into our offices, to register for their grants and so forth and so on. But we take courage from the Department of Agriculture and Education in Mpumalanga that they have government boarding schools, and they target like children from the farms whom ordinarily will not go to school because of the distance, and they take them to come and live at the boarding schools, owned by the government. So we wish that other provinces like Free State, Western Cape, Northwestern Limpopo, where the farm killings, where there are tangible socio-economic ills in the farm communities, could adopt the same approach of building some government, boarding schools to cater for such children who are living at the farms, who are automatically disadvantaged or not having a privilege of accessing education through schools.
Yeah. So going back to scrutinizing, perhaps this time around, the role of the police, how are officers failing in dealing with crimes committed at the farms? What is the solution? And perhaps how are you assisting as BFSA? How are you assisting the victims?
Yes, the other police are scared of those white people because they are saying they are arrogant, they are ready for violence, and they are not having any respect to the police. But also the inferiority complex amongst our policemen who are predominantly black. They don't see themselves arresting a white farmer who is committing crimes against vulnerable black people perpetually. So as Black Forum, we have developed a program where we are talking to the municipalities, local police stations, farm communities, farm workers, and even white farmers to say we want to bring about mediation between these stakeholders and create a platform where we could work together swimmingly. But also giving police a courage that, look, we are going to force you as a police to effect your obligation to provide, safety and security for the farm communities and treat crime as crime, not looking at the color of the skin. Yeah. So when you start to do that, at least the police have a pressure and agency on trying to attend to cases, because most of the cases, like the Kgagudi cases where the two Kgagudi brothers were shot and killed daylight, they have lost it in the court of law because police have failed to collect enough evidence to convict the suspects or the accused, because the National Prosecuting Authority depends on what the evidence which the police is giving to them. But if they are bringing a very weak evidence, bringing a hopeless case to them, we'll see a lot of cases, being acquitted.
Yes, as we have been seeing. So what are the expectations? Absolutely. What are the expectations from the ANC government? Some of the issues that, for instance, Secretary General Fikile Mbalula is expected to dwell on during the commemoration.
Yes, we are hosting a commemoration of the 1959 boycott as a new campaign in the country that which we fought for in 1959 still recurs even today. And because the ANC spearheaded that boycott, we are saying through this public lecture, come and talk to us about your intentions then and what are your intentions now, because the same situation is recurring. And then what are the programs you can put? You are a government. You are the government of the day. What are the immediate program of action you could put down, perhaps in collaboration with us as Black Forum South Africa, in order to curb the anomaly, the atrocities and the murders which are happening in the farm communities.
Absolutely horrifying. Thank you so much for your time. Black Forum South Africa CEO, Adv Kgagudi Morota, speaking there to some of the atrocities in the farming community. Still to come.